doesn't participate in any of that.
He does nothing.
He does nothing, okay? And so, you know, I mean, he does his statutory duties, and that's the extent of it. And so, you know, again, I think that, you know, that's a very tough call for the county to make, because we have been doing things above and beyond our statutory duty with the sheriff, and to change that becomes a hard thing to do. So, but that's, you know,
it is.
That's the way it is, you know.
And following up on what you said, though, they are in the process of restaffing some of those troops. Troop
Yes,
B's in the process of getting a number of personnel that they took out of Highway Division and other things. So they're going to be, and they're probably not back to their full complement of what they're supposed to have there. But it'd be my hope that if we're shifting personnel back from the state police into Troop B, I mean, it certainly would make sense that the sheriff's going to get some help, and we're not expending that much money out. I mean, that's looking in the long scheme of things. I mean, I'll trip over a trooper and officers if I'm in Ossipee or Tamworth, just by virtual location. Same thing, throw the highway state police in there also. They're always there. Now, I agree, out in the outer fringes, they're not going to respond, but when they're that close to the Kank, I would certainly expect better cooperation with our sheriffs than what we're getting.
Sir, I have asked, and I would enter into any agreement with them at any time to increase the level of services to the citizens here, but it's not forthcoming. The last attempt I made was to share detailed sharing with communications. I wanted a memorandum of agreement just to work on procedures. It's the only time that I ever got a letter back from the Department of Safety. And that letter said, we will not enter into any memorandum of agreement with you. Now, that wasn't directed at me. That was directed at the county. And I can show you stacks and stacks of communications I've made with these other government agencies. I want to leverage assets. I want to work with you, and it's not forthcoming. I'm not going to give up, because I'm going to keep at it till it's right.
If I could
Sure.
finish up with one more. So, Sheriff Conley, you know, the argument over past individuals wanting to be sheriff, and you're a new sheriff with great experience level. You come from the state side and so forth. Is it your opinion, when we've heard this politically from time to time, that we've got to stop all of this outside general policing, and now that you've been here for a period of time, is what I'm hearing that you can't stop that this is part of our process and has to stay the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to make a detailed response to you and to that question in writing, because at any time government working together, they can make it better. It's just that government to government relationships are the most difficult and the most dysfunctional. And I can cite a plethora of examples to you of why that is. And no, you know, the bottom line to answer your question is no. We can change the way law enforcement is done, period. We can make it better and more cost effective, but it's got to mean all the tenants coming together. That's every town with a police department, state police, myself, and then, of course, even federal agencies that have an impact here.
So you will get something to us in writing on the general policing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I absolutely welcome that, because the more people that understand the challenge, the closer I am to a solution on it. Sir.
Oh, can I ask a question, Karen?
Sure.
So you have a 911 call, and you say, hey, state police, can you answer this? 40% of the time they just say no. I mean, do they say, well, we're in Chatham, we're really far away from Ossipee, or we're in Ossipee, we're really far away from Chatham, we can't get there, or is it just kind of no?
Well, it's a complex question you ask, and I'll try to sum it up in two things. The first thing is the call that comes in. And the first mission I have to do is, what do I do with that? I either got to dispatch it to myself, or I got to dispatch it to whoever can cover it. And I submit it 4:30 in the morning, almost anywhere in Carroll County. It's either going to be the sheriff's office or the state police. Now, we have a detailed policy. We call over there. Got a 911 domestic. You know, where you take it. I mean, the expectation is to hand it off. I don't even talk about response times. We had a violent domestic in Hart's location last night about 3 in the morning, 3:50 in the morning. That was handed off to state police. They went up, took whatever time, but they ended up, they ended up protecting the woman, making an arrest. So the system can work, but they're in the same challenge we have, calling officers out, people on duty. They do not have 24-hour coverage in Carroll County.
The state police do not?
State police.
May I?
Did you? Yes.
If you've finished with that?
Well, I guess so. It doesn't really answer my question. What I'm wondering is, do you have any idea why they're saying no? Is it that they can't, or they won't?
Maybe I could get offline and I could share more detailed information, because it is a complex question to answer, and to give it a full vetting, I would have to have a block of time.
Okay, Frank.
I live right down the road, a mile or so from Hale's location. And I understand that in order for the police to respond to an ordinary call, it has to be either the sheriff's department in Carroll County or the state police. That the local Conway police can't go up there. They don't have any authority up there. That's what I was told by Hale's location residents. Now, what happens if it's, say, 3 o'clock in the morning and they call and say, I have a burglar in my house right now, an emergency. Not an emergency, a medical emergency for an ambulance, but a police emergency.
Well, we would call Conway, because even though they don't have specific jurisdiction there, they have the, what's the word for it when you tell?
Mutual aid.
Yeah, they have a mutual aid compact with all the towns around them, so they would respond there.
Okay,
But
so
we may be a length of time getting.
their 911 would come to you, right?
Yes.
And then you would respond by going to the Conway Police and saying, look, we've got an emergency up there. We'd like you to go up under the mutual agreement. And then they
Exactly.
can go up and, okay.
And then try to hand that call off to the.
But they wouldn't handle the whole call. They would get it under control until either us or state police
Yeah,
get it.
exactly.
We would finish it, but they would get it under control, the emergency.
Okay. So, it sounds to me like there needs to be some thought process going on between the sheriff and the commissioners about what do we want the sheriff to do? How do we, what do we want the sheriff to do? And obviously, we either say A, we want to maintain the status quo, or B, we only want to cover statutory requirements. And, I wouldn't venture a guess as to how I would speak at this moment, because I happen to live in a community with 24-hour police coverage. So my answer is probably different, but all of us are in 24-hour police places, okay? So, but I do think that is something that needs to be addressed with the commissioners. And, either, if we wanna stay with the status quo, that's fine. You know, if we don't wanna stay with the status quo, that's also fine. But, you know, we unfortunately built some things over the years, like the communication center, that we didn't have to do. You know, we as a county chose to do that. And the result is that we have a large expenditure for the 911 service because we made the decision to do that. Because other counties don't have a dispatch center. So some do, some don't. And so it's a, you know, it's an interesting dilemma that I think needs to be discussed with the commissioners and come to grips with, so, yes?
Just a question. If the commissioners said we would only go to statutory work, what would become of those towns that do not have a police force?
I think just
Being
in
that I live in
the,
one.
right, just in the short term, the only other agency is the state police. Now, I'm a retired New Hampshire state trooper. I mean, I have an advantage of knowing the organization, having a past history, loving the organization. They would serve exceedingly well. They are among the very best of anywhere. However, they're dealing with the exact same constraints that we are. The lack of troopers, funding, call-out, overtime, you name it, they're challenged by it. That's why we've got to work together on this stuff.
It becomes a state police responsibility if you do that. And that's what is going on in Comeau County right now. The state police are handling any calls after.
Although I have information, now, I'm thinking Grafton County, that is not in my lane. So I don't like to comment on things that aren't in my lane.
Right.
However, they have the exact same challenges we have, and they have nobody to call out.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess if the commissioners were to decide that we weren't going to do any general police duty, then it would be the town's responsibility to either put on a police force or to force the issue with the state police, or C, then for that town to pay the county for that work. So I don't know if it would be suicide for commissioners to suggest that, but that's how the county then could become reimbursed for
Same
it.
reason, exact same thing, the communication center. It's a large expense for each agency, each community to buy the computers, buy the communication center, get it all up and running when we have it, and it's a much less expense for us to do that. That's why it came to such a big entity here.
It would seem to me that's what really should happen. So, or
I mean, this is
deputize the
excellent to
selectmen.
have these.
I try to get that, guys.
Okay.
To have this, having this discussion is excellent. I can't tell you how fortuitous this is, not only for us as a sheriff's office, but certainly for the whole county. Whether you live in Eden or Conway or Wolfboro, you know, we need to be talking about this stuff, making government work together.
Okay, I'd like to move on unless you have anything else you want to say.
No.
At this point, what you're telling me is that your authorized strength is where you want to stay. And that within that authorized strength, you would maybe make some adjustments in how you manage.
That's exactly right, and I have cut back. I haven't filled, since I've been in here, I have not filled one job at all. And I've used part-time special deputies more than any other sheriff, at least in modern Carroll County history.
So, now I'd like to move on to number 4, which is cleaning, boots, etc., whatever it is. And I think we have several ways of approaching it, but as I understand it,